Hey everyone, welcome to our first lesson of the year. I'm going to go over lesson 1.1. I just wanted to go over this front page a little bit first. What this is, it's just basically an area that I want you to rate your understanding after you complete a lesson on a scale of 1 to 5. So you can see the lessons over here. So like after we do 1.1 and 1.2, let me know on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being I don't understand this at all, and 5 being I understand this so well I could explain it to another person. So after we get the first two done, I want you to rate how well you were able to justify each step used in solving an equation. In other words, can you solve an equation and tell me exactly what you're doing in each step and why it's a valid math rule? So for instance, if you're going to add 2 to both sides, that's the addition property of equality. That's justifying yourself, okay? So then you'll rate it over here and just kind of keep track of this. If you rate things between like a 1 and a 3 maybe, ask me questions so you can say, Mrs. McFadden, I'm having trouble identifying what it means to be a solution to an equation, so that you can use proper math words to ask me your questions. Because just saying I don't know doesn't help me help you. So on the back side of this, what you're going to notice is we have our notes. And then the next page is the assignment. So it's going to sit in your binder kind of like this, and the notes are going to be on the left side, the assignments are going to be on the right side. The assignment is what we're going to work on in class. The notes are sort of like your homework, okay? So for our first section, I'm calling it Solving Equations Basics. Our goal is to be able to solve one-step linear equations, justify each step, identify what it means to be a solution to an equation, and solve real-world situations using equations. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're only doing things that are one step today, okay? So first things first, a solution to an equation makes the equation true. And I'm going to write true in all caps, because why would you not want the equation to be true? It should make pretty sense naturally, but we want it to be true. Here's how you check that. You take the number you're looking for to see if it's a solution, and you plug it in for x. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, but instead of x, I'm going to write -3 in parentheses. Now, I'm putting parentheses there because without them, I would think that this was 4 minus 3, but it's not. It's 4 times -3. And if you pull out your handy-dandy calculator, 4 times -3 is -12. So we basically have -12 plus 11 equals 5. Well, -12 plus 11 is -1. Does -1 equal 5? No. And this is a yes or no question. It said, is blank a solution? No. If it is, we'll say yes. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here, but I threw a fraction at you. So we're going to do 1/2 of 8, because that's the number we're checking, plus 3. So 1/2 of 8 is 4. And 4 plus 3 is 7. That's true. So this one is a yes. And then lastly, we want to know if x equals 18 is a solution to this equation. Notice how it's giving you a guess each time. Technically, if you wanted to, you could go through and guess a bunch of different numbers until you find one that works. That's just not a very efficient way of solving a math problem. So I'm going to do -1/3 of 18 plus 9 equals 3. Now, when you go to do this in your calculator, you're going to do -1 divided by 3 times 18, which is -6. And -6 plus 9 is 3. 3 does equal 3, so this would be another example of a yes. So basically, you just plug the number in, and if this side equals this side, like these two, you say yes. If it's not, you say no. Okay? Now let's talk about the properties of equality. There are 4 of them: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The addition property of equality, and I'm going to go ahead and write PO next to that, because I'm going to let you abbreviate it. Property of equality is POE. For addition, that means you're allowed to add something to one side as long as you add it to the other side. So you have to keep your equation balanced. And what I'm going to do is draw a line down the middle of the equal sign. And I want x to be the only thing left over here. So I have to get rid of this minus 8, meaning I need to do the opposite of minus 8, which is plus 8. And what that allows me to do is cancel those out. But I also have to add the 8 to the other side as well, like that. And negative 3 plus 8 is 5. The 8's are gone. The x is the only thing left. Negative 3 plus 8 is 5, so x equals 5. If I wanted to, I could go back and check that 5 minus 8 equals negative 3. So I could plug it back in like this. And then if I type 5 minus 8 in my calculator, I actually get negative 3, so I'm right. That's just checking your answer. Okay, this is called the addition property of equality because we added something to both sides. Notice how it looks like subtraction in the equation. Then, over here, drawing our line down the middle of the equal sign, we want x to be by itself. To cancel out a plus 11, we need to minus 11. So I'm going to subtract 11 on both sides. That's where the property of equality part comes in. We're not just subtracting 11, we're subtracting 11 on both sides. So then they cross out, and x equals 5 minus 11, which is negative 6. And I could go check. Negative 6 plus 11 is 5. You don't have to check every time, it's just a good idea. Now, let's talk about multiplication. These equations typically look the scariest to people because, what? There's a fraction, let's all freak out. No, don't freak out. Fraction bars just mean division. This is just x divided by negative 5. So to cancel that out, what we're going to do on both sides is multiply by negative 5. Okay, notice how I wrote the times then the negative 5 so that it was written in the correct order. And then these negative 5's cancel. And I have just x left equals 2 times negative 5. That's negative 10. Again, that's the multiplication property of equality because we multiplied by negative 5 on both sides. And you're always going to do the opposite of what shows up in the equation. So when it looked like subtraction, we added. When it looked like addition, we subtracted. And when it looked like division or a fraction, we multiplied. And then this one is 8 times x. So you can write a multiplication dot in there if you want. So we need to divide by 8 on both sides. I'll draw the line down the middle if you want it. And notice how I'm writing my division. I'm not writing a division symbol like this. You could, but I'm writing it just like a fraction so I can easily cross out my 8's. And then x equals 32 divided by 8, which is 4. Okay, so the property of equality is whatever operation you actually do on both sides. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Now let's solve an equation where we actually have to say what we're doing. So solve each equation below, justify each step. So here, I want the g to be all by itself. Well, it's being multiplied by 9 right now. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division, meaning we need to divide by 9 on both sides. So I'm going to write division property of equality. And you can either write PO like this, or you can write it out if you want. Whichever one of those you prefer. And then negative 45 divided by 9 is negative 5. So G equals negative 5. Okay, because these are one-step equations, I've only given you places to write one step because that's all you should need to solve it. Okay, and then I made a mistake right here, guys. We're just going to go ahead and cross this one out. I accidentally put the same equation. I think we're good with the 5 equations we've done now. Okay, just realize that this was addition, POE, subtraction, POE, multiplication, POE, and division, POE. Now let's do a real-world problem. Penny makes $12.50 per hour. How many hours does she have to work until she earns $300? When it says how many hours, that's your variable. Your variable is what you're looking for. So it's the number of hours Penny worked. Well, if she's making $12.50 per hour, per usually means multiply. And if hours is X, then this turns into 12.50x equals, and how much money we want her to have? 300. Well, this is multiplying, like I said up here, so to undo it, we need to divide by 12.5. Okay, and then I need to go and actually take out my calculator, because I don't remember what this one is. 24. And I want you to go ahead and tell me what it is. Hours. Alright. Just because there's a decimal doesn't mean your calculator can't help you out there. Okay, in January, Annie had 712 followers. In July, she had 1,047 followers. How many followers did she gain? We are looking for how many followers she gained. So that's X. Okay? Meaning we started with 712 and we're adding X followers to get 1,047. Whatever thing comes second is usually the thing that ends up needing the equal sign. So we were looking for her to get to $300 up here. That was the equals part. We're looking for her to get to 1,047. So that's the equals part. Since these are being added, we are going to do the subtraction property of equality on both sides. Boom. And 1,047 minus 712 is 335. 335 what? Followers. Okay, and then up here I'm going to write multiplication property or what? Division property of equality. And subtraction property of equality. You technically don't have to do that because I didn't ask you to, but it's always a good idea to realize, oh, I'm dividing, that's the division property of equality. I'm subtracting, that's the subtraction property of equality.